The classification. The transmission arrived on a quiet Thursday morning. Every electronic device on Earth, phones, televisions, computers, even digital billboards, displayed the same image simultaneously. The world stopped as 7 billion humans stared at the strange, elongated face that appeared on their screens. Commander Elena Reyes was in the middle of a routine briefing at the United Earth Defense Command when her tablet flashed and the alien appeared. The being had dark violet skin with silver markings across its forehead and cheeks. Its eyes, 4 of them positioned in a diamond pattern, were completely white with no visible pupils. "People of Earth," the alien began in a perfectly modulated voice that somehow conveyed both authority and disdain. "I am Grand Overseer Vexel of the Galactic Evaluation Council. After our observation period of your civilization, we have reached our classification decision." Elena glanced around the room. Every member of her team was frozen in place, eyes locked on screens. First contact had happened 3 years earlier when a small scout ship had entered Earth's orbit, announcing the existence of a vast interstellar community called the Galactic Council. Since then, interactions had been limited to a small diplomatic outpost in Geneva and a few cultural exchanges. The aliens had made it clear that Earth was under evaluation, but no one knew what that truly meant until now. The Galactic Council hereby classifies humanity as a Category D sentient species, Vexel continued. This classification denotes an inferior evolutionary path with limited developmental potential. As per Council regulations, Earth will be placed under restrictive protocols. The words hung in the air like a physical blow. Elena felt her heart pound against her ribcage as anger surged through her body. Category D restrictions include prohibition of expansion beyond your current solar system, limited access to Council technologies, mandatory oversight of your developmental progress, and restricted voting rights within Council matters. A permanent Council representative will arrive within 3 Earth days to establish protocols. Without further explanation, the transmission ended, leaving billions of humans in stunned silence. Within hours, the United Earth government had convened an emergency session. Elena, as head of the Defense Command's Strategic Response Division, found herself sitting at a large oval table with 23 of the most powerful people on the planet. "They've effectively quarantined us," World President Cheng said, her voice tight with controlled anger. "They've declared us inferior without explanation and imposed restrictions on our future. We don't even know what criteria they used," added Dr. Raymond O'Keefe, Earth's leading xenobiologist. "What makes a species inferior in their eyes? Technology, social structures, biology." Elena studied the people around the table. Fear, anger, confusion, all were visible in their expressions. But she also saw determination. "What options do we have?" she asked, directing her question to Ambassador Torres, who had been Earth's primary contact with the alien outpost. The ambassador ran a hand through his gray hair, diplomatically. "We can request clarification and appeal the classification, but based on my interactions with them, the Council rarely reverses decisions. They operate under a strict hierarchical system, and their classifications have been developed over thousands of years." "And militarily?" President Cheng asked, turning to Elena. Elena shook her head. "From what little we know of their technology, we'd be bringing knives to a gunfight. Their ships can cross interstellar distances, and we've detected energy fields around their vessels that our scans can't even analyze properly. A direct confrontation would be suicide. So we just accept being labeled as inferior," Dr. O'Keefe demanded. "No," Elena said firmly. "We need more information, and we need to find advantages they haven't considered. Just because they're more advanced technologically doesn't mean we don't have strengths they might underestimate." The room fell silent as a new voice spoke from the doorway. "I might be able to help with that." All heads turned to see Dr. Marcus Chen, a brilliant but controversial physicist whose theories about quantum mechanics had been dismissed by many of his peers as too radical. "Dr. Chen," President Cheng acknowledged with a slight nod. You have something to contribute. I've been analyzing the propulsion signature from their ships, he said, stepping into the room uninvited. There's something unusual about it that doesn't match their apparent technological superiority. Elena leaned forward. Explain. Their ships use a form of spatial manipulation, what we'd call a warp drive. But it's inefficient. Based on the energy signatures we've detected, they're using at least 3 times more power than theoretically necessary. And this helps us how? The president asked. Dr. Chen smiled slightly. Because I think I can build a better one. 3 days later, as promised, a council ship arrived at the newly designated landing zone outside Geneva. Unlike the small scout vessels seen previously, this was an impressive craft, sleek and silver, about the size of a commercial airliner, but with an organic, almost living quality to its design. Elena stood with the welcoming delegation, her military uniform crisp and perfect. Ambassador Torres stood at the front with President Cheng and a small group of dignitaries. Security was tight, but deliberately non-threatening. Humanity was putting on its best face despite the insult they had received. The ship settled silently on the landing pad. After a moment, a seam appeared in its side, widening into a doorway from which a ramp extended. 2 tall, slender aliens emerged first, clearly guards based on their stance and the devices at their waists that Elena suspected were weapons. Then came a shorter figure in elaborate robes of shimmering material that changed color with each movement. I am Diplomat Thexel, the alien announced without preamble. I have been assigned as permanent council representative to Earth. The beam's voice was softer than Vexel's had been in the transmission, but it carried the same undertone of superiority. Welcome to Earth, President Cheng replied with perfect diplomacy. We have prepared facilities for you as requested. Thexel's 4 eyes blinked in an unsynchronized pattern. That is acceptable. I will begin implementation of Category D protocols immediately. As the formalities continued, Elena studied the alien and its guards carefully. She noted every detail of their movements, their technology, even the way they seemed to regard the humans with what could only be described as mild distaste. This wasn't just about technology, she realized. The council genuinely considered humans to be lesser beings. While the diplomatic reception continued, Dr. Chen was deep underground in a hastily established research facility beneath the Rocky Mountains. With him was a hand-picked team of Earth's brightest minds, physicists, engineers, biologists, and even a few unorthodox thinkers whose ideas had previously been considered too unconventional. The council thinks we're stuck with chemical rockets and primitive fission power, Chen said to the assembled team. That gives us an advantage they don't expect. The element of surprise. Dr. Layla Hassan, a quantum engineer, looked skeptical. How do we compete with beings who have had interstellar travel for possibly thousands of years? By thinking differently, Chen replied. Look at this. He projected a 3D model of the council ship's energy signature. They're using brute force approaches. More power, more stability. But there's elegance in efficiency. He manipulated the projection, highlighting specific patterns. Their approach is like using a sledgehammer to insert a pin. They have raw power, but I think humans have something they don't. Adaptability and creative problem-solving. So what's the plan? Asked Colonel James Wright, the military liaison assigned to the project. We reverse engineer their technology, but we improve it, Chen said simply. And we do it fast, before they realize what we're capable of. Back in Geneva, Elena was invited, or more accurately, summoned, to a private meeting with Diplomat Thexel. The aliens' quarters had been established in a repurposed mansion with extensive modifications to accommodate whatever environmental needs the being had. Commander Reyes, Thexel greeted her, gesturing to a seat designed for human anatomy. I have reviewed Earth's military capabilities as part of my assessment. Elena sat, keeping her expression neutral. And your species spends an excessive amount of resources on weapons and defense. This is typical of Category D species, prioritizing conflict over cooperation. Elena controlled her temper with effort. We prioritize protecting our people. A limited perspective. Thexel responded dismissively. The Council has observed 4,327 emergent species. The pattern is clear. Species that focus on military development stagnate in other areas. With respect, Elena said carefully, human history shows that innovation often emerges from conflict. Many of our greatest technological advances came from military research. Thexel's upper eyes blinked while the lower remained fixed on her. This confirms your classification. Advanced species evolve beyond such primitive motivations. Elena decided to probe further. What would it take for humans to achieve a higher classification? For the first time, she saw something like surprise in the alien's expression. Reclassification. Most species remain in their assigned category permanently. The neurological and social patterns are typically fixed by the time interstellar contact occurs. Humans adapt quickly, Elena countered. We've gone from horse-drawn carriages to space exploration in less than 2 centuries. Technological progress alone is insufficient, Thexel said. Category C status would require fundamental changes to human cognitive patterns and social structures. Category B would demand mastery of technologies at least 5 centuries beyond your current capabilities. And Category A. Thexel made a sound that might have been amusement. Only 3 species hold Category A status, Commander. They have evolved beyond physical limitations. Some are barely recognizable as biological entities anymore. As Elena left the meeting, her communicator buzzed with an encrypted message from Dr. Chen. Breakthrough. Need you at facility immediately. 20 hours later, after a covert flight across the continent, Elena stood in Chen's lab staring at what looked like a small silver sphere hovering above a platform. "What am I looking at?" she asked. Chen's face was alight with excitement. "The future. We've cracked their spatial manipulation technology. But we've done something they haven't. We've miniaturized it and made it more efficient. How is that possible in just a few days?" "We've been working on similar theories for years," Chen explained. "Their technology confirmed some of our hypotheses and gave us the missing pieces. But here's the crucial part. Our approach uses a fraction of their power requirements." Colonel Wright pointed to a display showing comparative energy signatures. "Their ships leave a massive energy wake. Ours would be nearly undetectable." Elena looked from face to face in the lab. "Are you saying we could build ships they couldn't track?" "Not just ships," Dr. Hassan interjected. "We're talking about potential applications they've never considered. Spatial manipulation at a quantum level could revolutionize everything from medicine to communication." "There's something else," Chen added, his expression turning serious. "Based on our analysis of their technology, the Council appears to have reached a plateau. They're not innovating anymore. They're just refining the same approaches they've used for centuries." Elena felt a surge of hope for the first time since the transmission. So their technological advantage might not be as insurmountable as they believe. "Exactly," Chen nodded. "They think they're the pinnacle of evolution, but they've stagnated. Humans, on the other hand. We're just getting started," Elena finished. The revelation. 6 months after Earth's classification as Category D, Diplomat Thexel prepared for his quarterly report to the Council. The alien sat in his private chambers, organizing data on human development, which remained unremarkable from the Council's perspective. The humans had been surprisingly compliant with the restrictions, almost too compliant. He thought briefly before dismissing the concern. Category D species typically displayed initial resistance, followed by acceptance of their place in the galactic hierarchy. Unknown to Thexel, 50 meters beneath the surface of Mars, the first human interplanetary base constructed with reverse-engineered Council technology was nearing completion. The facility had been built in record time using the miniaturized spatial manipulation technology developed by Dr. Chen's team. Elena Reyes stood in the central hub of the Mars base, looking through a viewport at the red landscape. The base was completely hidden from Council sensors thanks to advanced shielding technology. another innovation that had emerged from studying the aliens' inefficient approach. "Status report," she said to the assembled team leaders. Colonel Wright stepped forward. "Defense systems are online. The shield can withstand energy levels 3 times greater than anything the Council ships have demonstrated." "Production facilities?" Elena asked, turning to Dr. Hassan. "Operating at 87% efficiency. We're manufacturing quantum processors and spatial manipulation cores at a rate of 50 units per day. Assembly of the first 3 ships begins tomorrow." Elena nodded, satisfaction evident in her expression. And the Sentinel Network. This was perhaps their most ambitious project, a system of microsatellites equipped with advanced sensors that could monitor all Council communications and ship movements throughout the solar system. The technology was so far beyond what the Council believed humans capable of that they weren't even looking for it. "Fully operational," reported Communications Director Patel. "We're intercepting approximately 68% of all Council transmissions, and the translation algorithms improve daily." Elena took a moment to absorb the progress they had made. In 6 months, humanity had leaped forward by what might have been decades of normal development. The classification that was meant to restrict them had instead galvanized a unified response unlike anything in human history. "What have we learned about the Council's internal structure?" she asked. Director Patel brought up a holographic display showing a complex network of connections. "The Council comprises representatives from 27 spacefaring species across our galactic arm. However, real power is concentrated among the 3 category of species who make all significant decisions. The rest, including our friend Thexel's people, essentially follow orders. And the category is species themselves. Reclusive, they rarely interact directly with lower categories. According to intercepted communications, they haven't physically attended a Council meeting in over 300 years. They send proxies or communicate remotely." Elena studied the display thoughtfully. "So the beings who decided our fate have never actually met a human?" "Correct. The evaluation was based on reports from observation teams and standard cultural analysis protocols." "That's going to change," Elena said with quiet determination. Back on Earth, Ambassador Torres was engaged in what had become a weekly exercise in frustration. Formal diplomatic requests for reconsideration of Earth's classification. Each petition was met with the same response. "The Council's classification protocols are based on millennia of xenological research and are not subject to appeal by the classified species." Today, however, Torres had a new approach. "Diplomat Thexel," he began, "we wish to propose a cultural exchange program. If the Council's concerns stem from misunderstanding human potential, perhaps direct interaction would be beneficial." Thexel's 4 eyes blinked in their unsynchronized pattern. "Cultural exchanges are permitted within Category D protocols, though I must note that such programs have never resulted in reclassification." "We understand," Torres said smoothly. "We merely wish to deepen mutual understanding." What Torres didn't say was that the proposed cultural delegation would include several members of Chen's team, carefully selected to gather additional intelligence on Council technology during their visit to the regional headquarters. The meeting was interrupted by an urgent communication. One of Thexel's assistants entered and whispered something in the diplomat's ear equivalent. The alien's color shifted slightly. A reaction Torres had learned indicated alarm. "I must conclude our meeting," Thexel said abruptly. "An urgent Council matter requires my attention." After the diplomat's hasty departure, Torres contacted Elena using a secure quantum-encrypted channel developed by Chen's team. "Something's happening," he reported. Thexel was called away suddenly. His aide seemed agitated. "We know," Elena replied from Mars. "Our Sentinel network intercepted a priority transmission to all Council representatives. There's been an incident in the Proxima Centauri system, some kind of massive energy surge that damaged several Council facilities. They're scrambling response teams." "Is this our opportunity?" Torres asked. "Possibly. I'm calling an emergency meeting of the Earth Defense Council. Stand by for updates." 12 hours later, the situation had become clearer. The Sentinel network had pieced together enough intercepted communications to understand that the Council was facing a crisis unlike anything in their recent history. It appears to be a natural phenomenon, Dr. Chen explained to the assembled leadership. Some kind of quantum storm that creates cascading failures in the type of spatial drives the Council uses. 3 of their major ships have been disabled, and a research outpost in the Proxima system is in danger of complete destruction. Can they evacuate? President Cheng asked. That's the problem, Elena said. Their ships can't approach without being affected by the storm. They're losing power and life support, and they have over 200 personnel stranded there. And our technology? The president inquired. Dr. Chen smiled slightly. Our approach to spatial manipulation operates on different principles. Based on our models, our ships should be able to function within the affected zone. A heavy silence fell over the room as everyone understood the implication. They had the capability to rescue the Council personnel when the Council itself could not. This is a significant decision, President Cheng said finally. Revealing our technological advancement will force the Council to reassess our classification, but it could also be perceived as a threat. Or it could demonstrate the best of humanity. Ambassador Torres countered. Compassion and ingenuity in the face of crisis. Elena looked around the table. We have 3 vessels ready for deep space operation. They're small and untested beyond the moon's orbit, but the simulations are promising. I believe we can mount a rescue operation. The crews would be taking an enormous risk, Colonel Wright pointed out. I'll lead the mission myself, Elena said firmly, and I suspect we'll have no shortage of volunteers. After intense debate, the decision was made. 48 hours later, 3 sleek vessels, unlike anything humans had publicly acknowledged building, departed from the hidden Mars base. Each ship carried a crew of 12, pilots, engineers, medical personnel, and diplomatic representatives. Elena commanded the lead vessel, named Prometheus. As she sat in the captain's chair, watching Earth and Mars recede behind them, she felt the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. This mission would change humanity's place in the galaxy, one way or another. The journey to Proxima Centauri would have taken Council ships nearly a week. The human vessels, with their more efficient drives, crossed the distance in just under 4 days. As they approached the affected region, they detected the quantum disturbances that were wreaking havoc on Council technology. Shields holding at 92%, reported the Prometheus's engineer. Drive efficiency dropping slightly but well within parameters. Open a channel to the Council outpost, Elena ordered. After a moment of static, a shocked alien voice responded. This is Outpost Proxima. Who are you? Our sensors show vessels approaching, but you're not broadcasting Council identifiers. This is Commander Elena Reyes of Earth, she replied. We've come to offer assistance. There was a long pause before the response came. Earth? Category D Earth. That's impossible. No Category D species has interstellar capability. Nevertheless, we're here, Elena said calmly. And we're prepared to evacuate your personnel before your life support fails completely. Another pause, longer this time. She could imagine the confusion and disbelief on the other end. Finally, stand by, Earth vessel. Elena waited patiently, knowing that the Council representative was likely contacting higher authorities for guidance. This was the moment when everything would change. Commander, the communications officer called out. We're receiving a transmission from a Council diplomatic vessel outside the affected zone. It's Grand Overseer Vexel. Elena straightened in her chair, on screen. The familiar violet face appeared, all 4 eyes focused intently. Commander Reyes, your presence in this system represents multiple violations of Category D protocols. With respect, Overseer, Elena replied, we're responding to an emergency. 200 lives are at risk. How did you acquire this technology? Vexel demanded, ignoring her statement. No Category D species could develop interstellar travel independently, particularly not within 6 months of classification. Perhaps your classification was flawed, Alina suggested mildly, but this isn't the time for that discussion. Will you accept our assistance or not? She could see Vexel struggling with the decision. Council doctrine clearly stated that Category D species could not operate beyond their solar system, yet refusing help meant sacrificing Council personnel. Proceed with the evacuation, Vexel finally conceded. But this matter will require full Council review. Over the next 16 hours, the 3 human vessels approached the failing outpost and methodically transferred all personnel to safety. The Council scientists and staff were visibly shocked to be rescued by a species they had been taught to consider primitive, but gratitude quickly overcame prejudice as the reality of their situation sank in. When the evacuation was complete, Alina received another transmission from Vexel. The Council acknowledges your assistance, the overseer said stiffly. You will escort our personnel to the rendezvous point at the edge of the affected zone, where they will transfer to appropriate Council vessels. And then, Alina asked, you and your ships will return to Earth immediately. A full delegation from the Council will arrive to reassess the situation. 3 weeks later, Alina stood once again in the landing zone outside Geneva. This time, however, she wasn't part of a welcoming committee but the center of attention. Beside her stood President Cheng, Ambassador Torres, Dr. Chen, and the rest of the key figures who had made the rescue mission possible. The Council ship that descended was larger and more elaborate than any previously seen on Earth. When the doors opened, not only did diplomat Vexel emerge, but also Grand Overseer Vexel and several other Council representatives Alina didn't recognize. Most surprising of all was the figure that followed them, a being unlike any human had seen before. It appeared almost translucent, its form shifting slightly as if not entirely solid. This, Alina realized, must be a representative of one of the elusive Category species. People of Earth, Vexel began, his tone noticeably less condescending than during the classification announcement. The Council has convened an emergency session regarding your status. In light of recent events and revelations about your technological capabilities, your classification is under review. The translucent being moved forward. When it spoke, the voice seemed to come from everywhere at once. I am Elder Xerandis of the Asterians. For the first time in 7,000 years, the Council has agreed to an immediate reclassification without the standard observation period. A murmur ran through the human delegation. Your species has demonstrated several qualities the Council values: innovation, compassion, and resourcefulness. Xerandis continued. More significantly, your approach to spatial manipulation technology represents a genuine advancement over current Council methods, something we have not encountered from an emergent species in millennia. Alina could hardly believe what she was hearing. The Council was not just acknowledging human achievement, but admitting that humans had improved upon their technology. Earth is hereby reclassified as Category B, Vexel announced formally. All previous restrictions are lifted. You will be granted full access to Council knowledge databases and trading networks. We thank the Council for this recognition, President Cheng responded diplomatically. Earth looks forward to working together as equals. Not quite equals, Vexel corrected, some of his old superiority returning. Category B is a starting point, interrupted Elder Xerandis. The Asterians believe that human potential may be underestimated still. We will be watching your progress with great interest. As the formalities continued, Alina caught Dr. Chen's eye. They both knew that this was just the beginning. Humanity had earned the Council's respect, but more importantly, they had proven to themselves that they belonged among the stars. Later that evening, as celebrations took place around the world, Alina stood alone on a balcony overlooking Geneva. Diplomat Vexel approached, moving to stand beside her. There is a saying among my people, the alien said after a moment. The most dangerous assumption is that others think as you do. Alina glanced at him, meaning. The Council believed that all intelligent life would follow the same developmental patterns we observed over millennia. We never considered that a species might take a different path. Human history is full of unexpected paths, Alina replied. Thexel's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. A gesture she now understood indicated thoughtful consideration. The elder was correct. You were underestimated. It will not happen again. As Thexel departed, Alina looked up at the night sky. The stars seemed brighter somehow, closer. No longer distant points of light, but destinations waiting to be reached. Humanity had been declared inferior, but they had proven otherwise. Not through aggression or defiance, but through the very qualities that made humans unique: adaptability, creativity, and the unyielding desire to reach beyond their limitations. The galaxy would never be the same, neither would humanity.